In this video, I'm gonna give you the 5 steps to getting into a relationship with your 10 out of 10 girlfriend. I've had hundreds of calls with prospective clients and they all go exactly like this. I say, hey John, you know, what is the main thing that you're wanting to achieve here? And they always say this. I want to have options with girls. I want more abundance. I really want high quality girls, you know, maybe spin some plates. And I just don't want to be in a situation where I feel like I'm obligated to be in that situation because I don't have the ability to get another girl. And I'm like, I agree with that 100%. You know, I know exactly what you're talking about, but you know, what is the long-term goal? What's the end goal here? And they say, well, look, if I'm being 100% honest, I want to have some fun. I want to develop the skills with the stuff so that I don't feel like I'm trapped in a relationship if I get into one, and I don't want to feel like I'm trapped because I don't have any options if I leave that relationship. But in the long term, I want to find a girl that I really vibe with, build a deeper connection with that girl, and maybe potentially start a family with that girl. And I'm like, I agree with you 100%. You're probably not going to be running around chasing girls at the age of 50. Well, you might, right? I mean, different strokes for different folks, but most of the time there is an end game to this, and that is finding a high quality goal. So in this video, I'm going to go over 5 steps, and these 5 steps have taken me years to develop and just understand on a deeper level, and also years of coaching other people do this and actually do this with success. So I'm going to share them with you today in a couple of minutes basically. So I hope you enjoy. Before we get into the actual 5 steps, how do you know when you're actually ready to get into a relationship? And there are 4 things that you need to be aware of. The first is that you have options. You can't get into a relationship without options. You have to be getting into a relationship from a place of abundance. The second point is you are choosing her and she's overly joyed to be in that relationship. I will go into this in a little bit more depth in just a minute, but understand this for now. You are choosing her and she's overly joyed to be in that relationship with you. Far too often I see guys chasing the girl, begrudgingly gets into the relationship with the guy, and then because she's not that invested in it, there's a high chance that she's going to end it later on. So be very aware of this. You have to be choosing her and she's overly joyed to be in that relationship with you. This point is so underrated. I see so many people fuck this up, right? You have to have the confidence to get others. I can't stress the importance of this. If you get into a relationship without the ability to get others, you're going to feel trapped in that relationship. You're also going to think, well, I can't do better, so therefore I can't leave. Like, I have to be in this relationship even if it's not good, and that is not a good place to be. And finally, and this point is equally just as important as the previous point, you have to be just as good by yourself as you are without her. You can't need her. Far too often people get into, well, they call them relationships. Essentially, it's a situation of anxious codependence rather than a mutually beneficial relationship. And the reason this happens is because guys get into relationships and they're not happy. Their life situation is not that good. They're not happy by themselves, and they think that this girl is going to be the savior. And you know what ends up happening? They become overly dependent, they become needy, and the girl leaves. On that cheerful note, let's get into the 5 steps of how to get into a relationship with your 10 out of 10 girl. 10 out of 10. I'll go through these steps and you'll know exactly what the roadmap is moving forward. Step number 1, be a player. You can't get into a relationship and then once you're in that relationship, you feel trapped because you know that if you leave, you're fucked, right? You don't want to be in that situation at all. You want to be in a situation where you are in a relationship because you know that you want to be there, and if you left the relationship, you have other options. You have options, right? So therefore, because you have other options, you're in that relationship because you want to be. That's a good place to be. The second reason why you need to be a player and actually understand the dynamics, the way of woman, if you will, is because it just helps you understand how to manage a relationship, right? If you get into a relationship with hardly any experience, then you're not going to understand how women are, the way they think, the way they act, what they want, and all of that determines the success of the relationship that you have. Step number 2 of 5, and I call this the rule of numbers. And after having, you know, coached this for a couple of years, having with my own experience and speaking to other people, you know, in the industry, what I found is that in every about 20 girls that you're with, you find one that you really gel with, but you have to go through the numbers to find that girl. And far too often guys are not willing to do this. They're not willing to put themselves out there. They're not willing to expose themselves. They're not willing to meet a number of girls to find the one that they really like. They find one, she gives him some form of attention, and they think, oh, this is the one. And the reason they think that is because they're in a state of scarcity. So therefore, as soon as a girl gives them attention, their mind starts playing tricks on them. They start placing characteristics onto this girl that don't actually exist. This is the crazy thing. And then they call it love. That's mental. They start turning this person into something that they're not. People are not perfect. We have to understand that. There is no one right person. There's no one wrong person. They're just people that are better for you and people that are less better for you. And you have to filter through a number of humans to find the one that you gel with. Get your mind out the gutter. Friends. If you meet 15 guys, there's a high likelihood that you're not going to be friends with all of them, right? You might gel well with like one or two of them. Right? That's normal. That's human nature. That's social dynamic. That's also applicable to dating. The rule of numbers, expose yourself to as many girls as possible. Take that how you want to. Ooh, this is tasty. And this is number 3 of 5. And that's what to look out for. We have the red flags and we have the green flags. I'm going to go through a few of them. I suggest that you write these down and you almost have them as a checklist on your date and just be like, all right, Sarah, so tell me. When last did you speak to your father? It sounds ridiculous, right? I say that with a pinch of salt, but you actually have to, really be aware of these things because they are a good indicator of how successful your relationship is going to be. So I'm waffling on. Let me go through the red flags and then I'm also going to go through the green flags because I don't think enough people speak about the green flags as well. Right. Red flags, body count. It's quite simple. The more bodies that a girl has accumulated in her life, the higher chance there is that, you'll probably get divorced if you marry that girl later on. The reason being is because when a girl sleeps with a guy, she creates a bond with him. If she's done that many times, to her that bond is not as sacred, as if she'd only been with a small number of people. So that is something important to take into account. Less bodies probably means that she's going to be more bonded to you when she actually sleeps with you. Next point, her relationship with her father. You've heard this hundreds of times before, but I'll explain exactly why this is important. The reason this is important is because her father is her first love. Her father is the first man that she looks up to. That is the first formed bond with a male that she has. And the reason this is important is because oftentimes she'll revert back to that bond with her future lovers. So if that is a traumatic experience for her at a young age, there's a high likelihood that she's probably going to create behavior that mimics the same relationship with you that she had with her father. That's why you want a girl who has a good relationship with her father, a girl that looks up to her father, a girl who wants to find a guy who is on the same level as her father, right? Obviously, if her father is a good person, and he's looked after her and he's taken care of her. I'm going to list off a few other points here. The next one is being very frisky, shall we say, on social media, posting very provocative pictures. And the reason for this is because she obviously wants attention. When you're with her, if she's looking at other guys, big red flag. Still talks to her ex, not good. Always wants to go out and club with her girls, not ideal. Loads of guy friends. And this is a key point, right? A girl can have guy friends, if they're childhood friends and things like that. But if she's in a relationship with you, she should value that relationship more than her guy friends. That is the male attention that she actually needs. And if she's not willing to do that, it means that she places a higher value on those guys than she does on you. So for me personally, that's a big red flag. Finally, I'm sure there are more, but these are the main ones that I've noticed throughout my experience. The last one is that she wants to go on girls' trips, all the time. And look, things happen on girls' trips, right? There's a difference between a girl going away on a weekend with a friend to some hike or some nature thing, and then going to Vegas or going to party places with a group of girls where they're going out and they're clubbing and stuff. Things happen, right? I want to believe in the fairy tale fantasy just as much as you, bro. But humans are humans and things happen, right? So just take that into account. All right, green flags. I want to go through this quickly. Obviously, all of the red flags, the opposite of the red flag. But there are a few other ones, a few nuanced things that I've found that are very important to look out for. The first one is she takes feedback from criticism. Obviously not blame, but constructive criticism. So look, for example, hey, I don't like it when you do this or that in the relationship. And she actively takes that on and you can see it change in her behavior. Massive, massive green flag. The next one is that after an argument, she actually wants to fix it, right? She wants to fix the relationship. She wants to make it better and she wants to get back on track ASAP Rocky. Massive green flag. The next one has no issue telling you the password to her social media or her phone or anything like that. I'm not saying that you need to go and use it. I'm not saying that you need to go and, type that in when she's not looking. It's a slippery slope, right? But the fact is she shouldn't have an issue with giving that to you, right? Because why would she? What what is your girlfriend doing that you can't know about? I understand that there's an element of privacy. Like I said, I'm not saying you need to fish through her Instagram or Facebook or messages every other day. No, like I said, slippery slope, but she shouldn't have an issue giving it to you. The next one, she wants to look good for you. She wants to do herself up. She wants to impress you. That is a big one because she looks up to you. And the final one is that she is accepting of the fact that you're on your mission, and she knows that you have to work. She knows that sometimes you need to grind, you need to go into extra hours or over hours, and she's accepting of that and she supports you. Another green flag, and I didn't understand this until a lot later on in my dating career, and this is how to find or how to know that if the girl that you're with is a good girl or not in the relationship or whatever you have with her. And that is, understand this principle. Before you sleep with a girl, her power hand is the fact that she hasn't slept with you. It's sex, right? After you sleep with her, she doesn't have a power play. It's gone, right? What you'll notice is that if you sleep with a girl, at the beginning, she plays a little bit hard to get. Maybe it takes 1 or 2 dates, maybe 3 or 4 dates, whatever. What you'll find is that after sleeping with her, she'll start pursuing you more. And there's a reason for this. The fact is that if she was a girl who'd slept with loads of dudes, it doesn't mean that much to her. She just thinks, I'll find another guy. Fuck it, I don't care. I'm not gonna pursue this guy. However, if she hasn't, and she genuinely values that bond, that sacred bond of sex that she's had with you, then she's more likely to pursue that. She's more likely to want to make that work. So what you'll find is that there's a switch in the dynamic after that takes place. After you've had sex with a girl, there's a switch, and then she actively starts pursuing you because she values what you guys have, right? That is the next point to take into account. Step number 4. This is so important. Please listen to this. This will change the way that you get into relationships. It will change the quality of your relationships. And I call this the head over heels principle. It relates back to what I was talking about at the beginning, and that is she has to be head over heels for you when you get into a relationship. And far too often I see guys get into a relationship and they're the ones always chasing the girls. It doesn't work like that. This is not Hollywood. She has to be more invested than you are, right? The reason for this is that women date across and up, men date across and down. What does this mean? You have to be better than the girl, period. You have to be better than the girl. She will leave you if she thinks she's better than you, period. She will leave you. She will leave you for someone else. And therefore, you have to set the tone of the relationship. How is that tone set? She has to be the one more invested than you at the beginning. It's that simple. There's no more that needs to be explained here. And finally, we get on to number 5, and this is the kicker, and I call this the honeymoon principle. After you've filtered through multiple girls, after you've checked for green and red flags, after you've made sure that she is the one chasing you, you still have to understand that you are in a honeymoon period when you start dating a girl. The reason I say this, right, is that so often I'll have a client and he's like, oh, I found this girl, she's amazing. I'm like, how long have you been dating her? And he's like, oh, 2 months. I'm like, oh, John, take a seat, let's have a chat. And the reason I say this is because you don't know who that girl is, right? You don't know who she is for at least 6 months to a year. I go so far as to say at least 15 months. The reason for this is because people put on their best front when they start dating you, so therefore you don't know who they are. They're like an actor. It's like watching an actor in a movie. You don't know who they are. So therefore, what I recommend is don't get too attached in the early stages. Don't start placing characteristics onto people because you don't know who they are, and don't create this fictional character in your mind, fall in love with this fictional character, and then after about a year, they rip the mask off and they're like, well, this is who I really am. And you're like, oh my God, turn it off, turn it off. You should have listened to me. Be aware of this, right? Be aware of the fact that you don't know who you're dating until very much further on into the relationship. With that being said, this is exactly how you get into a relationship with a high value girl, your 10 out of 10 girl. If you need help with this, drop us an email. It's in the description, or book a call with us. It's free of charge. We hop on the phone with you. We listen to you ramble on and then try and see if we can help you in one way or another. This is all we do. You know, James and myself have got a combined experience of more than a decade with this stuff. We've traveled to most continents, a shitload of countries, and you know, we are some of the best in the industry, if not the best when it comes to this. So get in contact if you would like us to help you with this, and we'll see you in the next video.
Hey guys, we got a brand spanking new community, loads of new resources, loads of the old content, loads of new content, loads of fucking cool shit on there, and it's all for free. And if you want us to help you with your current situation, figure out where you're at, where you want to go, and the most painless and effective way possible to get from A to B, depending on what A to B is, book a call on the link below and we'll be in touch. It's also completely free of charge. Sayonara.